All right, let's talk about attacks. First, about what can be done at the link layer. So there's three kinds of often in security we can think about three different kinds of broad kinds of property: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And in the networking context, confidentiality, the kind of thing you might be worried about is eavesdropping. Someone else can see your packets and see what data you're sending. Integrity, you might be worried about someone injecting spoofed packets, bogus data. And availability, someone might try to jam, delete your packets so that you can't successfully make a connection. And all three of those are possible on Wi-Fi, for instance. So let's talk about eavesdropping. On Wi-Fi or Ethernet, they're fundamentally a broadcast medium. Like Wi-Fi is, I'm using my radio and I'm sending radio signals. And so that's being broadcasted to anyone who's within range. So what that means is anyone who's within range can listen to what packets I'm sending. Even if they're not destined for them, they can still listen and just pay attention to what I'm sending. So we call that eavesdropping. All right. And there's a variety of tools out there you can find to do eavesdropping. Please don't do this on campus networks, because you may see confidential data, and that's not, you shouldn't be doing this. But if you wanted to set up your own virtual machine and look only on your private network, you could do this looking at your own data. And there's tools like TCP dump, WinDump, Wireshark. So for instance, here's an example screenshot from Wireshark. Wireshark, here we've captured a bunch of packets. We're eavesdropping. There's a whole bunch of packets. We're seeing one line per packet. And then you can click on a packet and expand and look at the different headers. There's an Ethernet header and an IP header and a TCP header, and you can see what the TCP things are. And you can look at the data of the payload of this HTTP request and see what websites people are loading and what they're sending and what data they're getting back. Okay. So if there's no cryptography provided, then eavesdropping means that anything you send over a network like Wi-Fi network is visible, observable to everyone else on the same network. Okay, so that's one kind of threat. And it's not just Wi-Fi. There are all these fun stories, like the national intelligence agencies are really interested in eavesdropping on their adversaries, on other countries who are their enemies. And so they'll go to extreme lengths to eavesdrop. Like in the Iraqi war, I was told, supposedly, that one of the top priority bombing targets for the U.S. to bomb in Iraq was every landline, like telephone switching station, like every landline they had got bombed first, so that they would fall back to using radios so that they could eavesdrop on the communications. Or here is an example of where the U.S. spy services wanted to spy on Soviet communications, and the Soviets were using undersea cables, which are really hard to get to, and we went to the point of building a special sub that is completely decked out for the sole purpose of diving down to the undersea cable. Has the ability to send a diver out there and tap into the undersea cable that's sitting there on the ocean floor and leave behind a listening device. Okay, so crazy, crazy stuff, right? Enormous lengths that spy services will go to. And, they'll do stuff like for fiber optic cable, there's lots of ways to eavesdrop that you might not think of. So for instance, fiber optics, you can spy on it by bending it a little bit. And then there's a little bit of light that shines through the cladding, through the insulation, and you can stick a sensitive sensor there and sense what signal is being sent over the fiber optic.